You have the opportunity. Don't question yourself. Don't stop. Know where you want to be. Don't let anybody tell you you can't. My 20-year-old self, put your effort in. Don't look at immediate instant gratification because that is such a short period of time compared to the long game.
Welcome to our YouTube channel. This is John Checky of Checky Financial and JJ also of Checky Financial. And we are interviewing Nick, an amazing CPA right here in the Dallas area. Nick, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, John and JJ, thanks for having me today to come in and introduce myself and kind of go over some things. I'm Nick Shifflet. I'm a partner here at Shifflet and Phillips. We've been located here in Frisco for since 2014, but we're a great medium-sized firm here to help entrepreneurs and individuals in any way, shape, or form to get them rolling.
Besides coping with the problems with air conditioning, repositioning staff, and what have you, tell us the most exciting thing that's happened to you this particular season with your practice, Nick.
This season with my practice, I actually, one of the things that we expanded into is I have a lot of real estate syndicates, and I picked up a massive syndicate out of Kentucky. We are working with him. He's an ex-professional football player, phenomenal person to work with, has a lot of connections. And one of the big things we've been able to work with is we specialize in real estate and doing the 1031 exchanges and some other stuff with real estate. And this particular investor came in, felt extremely underserviced in the ways of helping him to understand what his true goal is. And so being able to bring a substantial new real estate syndicate on with teaching them with these ever changing laws about real estate and bonus depreciation, but going through with him on how to navigate the current economics and tax code has been very interesting for our firm. Working in different states obviously creates some issues in state laws, but creates a lot of fun.
One of the things we try and help our fellow professionals with, Nick, is jargon. And in my case, I know what a real estate syndication is because I spent 5 years working inside one and 4 more years defending one for a period of time. And I thought everybody bought the properties, improved the properties, and then gave the money back to the clients. I had no idea. I'd only worked with the 2 honest guys in North Central Texas and got to testify in federal court on that. Why don't you tell everybody else what a real estate syndication is?
Yeah. So, in our Metroplex area, the DFW area, real estate syndicates are a big part of that. We have our in the DFW area, the market is so expensive to get into that it creates barriers to entries through economics, i.e., a normal guy with $150,000 income can't come in here and buy a $10 million building. Okay, so what has been what the economics have proved in our area to brought together are you will have somebody that has let's say a Rolodex, i.e., a big black book that has lots of people's numbers in there that he has worked with over the years and trusted and stuff, and he's in the real estate world. Well, what instead of him wanting to go out and basically say, "Hey, I want to go out and buy this $10 million building," what he does is he works together a business plan for a group of investors to come in and say, "Hey, I've got a property here. It it's done at X rate. So here's the property we're looking at. I don't want to buy it all hardly on the 10 million because I don't have the economics to do it. But if you build in a base of clientels, usually you want accredited investors, and accredited investors, somebody that has a balance sheet over $1 million, but kind of looking at
And when
this,
you say balance sheet, what you really meant to say was investable assets of over $1 million.
there you go. Yes, sir. The investable assets, other things can contribute. Depends on, like, if they're entrepreneurs, they will allow them to be in accredited investors on education if they have a doctorate degree and different things. Like, there's different things that we can kind of do with education to bring them in there too. So what we do is we bring this pool of either educated investors, wealthy investors, or just a group of people that come in and and put that asset together. So if I'm a syndicate, I would come to the group and say, let's buy this $10 million asset, and y'all put in a percentage of money, and then we go in and invest that asset. And that asset will run like a partnership inside there. So since I'm the one putting the deal together, I'm the syndicate on that side of it. I'm the one that's bringing in the real estate, finding the deals, finding the loans, learning all about the property, the economics of the property. I'm doing all the initial research and
And
dirty
again, you're
work.
referring to the guy that's actually, or gal that's actually putting this deal together, not
The
your.
syndicate, the
Yeah.
syndicate, correct? Yes, that's if I'm the syndicate. If I'm the syndicate in that area,
Mhm.
then I'm the one going out there and researching all this. Normally, on our side of it, we're the CPA firm. So we go in there and we validate the syndicate. Hey, yeah, you know what? He's right. This is a great area. This is a great market. We show them how they can run the economics through that syndicate real estate activity.
And your firm is not a law firm, therefore, someone else puts together the offering memorandum. Someone actually takes it through the various hoops
Correct.
that are
Correct.
all
Yes, sir.
burning and full of gasoline in terms of that. And JJ, if you had an opportunity to read 135 of those during the earlier part of your career and then do 135 tax returns, which are 1065s with lots of K1s, and you have a K1 party putting out K1s, it's a joy that you don't want to relive. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. It creates a lot of work inside of there and all of that. But on our side of it, we're really the ones that are evaluating the numbers. We're not evaluating the deal itself. Like I'm not going out there and say, yeah, this thing is going to pass title. I don't really know. I have no clue. I'm more of looking on economics, your return, your ROI, your return on your investment, and when that investment is going to churn, actually
I'm
turn
guessing
around
you
to recoup.
also encourage the person who is syndicating it along with their advisors to make sure they hire experts in every field, whether it's somebody who actually appraises it, someone actually goes out and kicks bricks in terms of make sure there's certain types of metering and what have you. And you go over that ad nauseum to make sure that your firm is well represented and
Hmm.
have to go to court to say, oh, gee, I'm sorry, we forgot that.
Yes, sir. We have a I call it Rolodex. I'm old. Rolodex is old school of names of referral partners
Now
that
we
we sit.
call that a database.
There you go. That's right. It's a database. I'll use that instead of my old archaic words. We got a database of potential referral partners depending upon the type of investment that is kind of going into to give some. They're independent. We just say, hey, go talk to them, but at least it gives them some opportunity to talk to people in the field that we actually trust and can give good
And
information
with that
across.
in mind, what's the worst example you can give us of a client that just did not follow directions worth a fiddly ding?
Oh yeah, I've got one. I've got a client that we had a massive office building about, let's say 2 miles south of 121, right off the tollway. About a massive,
Which is a
massive
major
gun.
thoroughfare, no kidding.
You're looking at, I believe the building was right at about 20 million, was scheduled up for 1031. And at 1031 exchange, it's basically what that is you could sell your property and then basically put that money into a new property and i.e. not have to have the gain. Well, what the client forgot to do, he forgot to do the qualified intermediary. So when the funds came into my client's bank account, and that was the biggest headache we ever had to deal with because we got it to qualify through the 1031 through certain avenues, but it cost the client probably another $10,000 in fees because we had to do so much background and so much research on it to make sure we could get it to qualify outside of that. That
So you're
that
a
was one
big
of the hardest
fan
things.
of literally mapping out what people need to do, which is called planning in advance. And then you've learned the hard way to make sure that you keep track of details along the way. Because sometimes someone gets so excited about a humongous check that they forgot to follow the procedure.
Yep, pretty much. That happens. I believe me, it is a big check, so I could see how he got excited. No, no, I was excited too. So it was
About
very.
60 years ago, the biggest check I ever got to write was $70 million. And I was rebalancing some balance sheets for a local utility company. And even the treasurer that was signing that said, I've never signed a check this big. I said, look, it's just a matter of zeros and commas. Okay. So just sign it. I need to get to the
That's
next.
right. That's right. It doesn't. It's not anything to me. It's just zeros and commas. That affects somebody else, right? Now, if it's my check, I'd probably do the same thing. That's a big old check to endorse.
And as much fun as that is, personally, I've been counting money since I was a little kid for other people because everybody was sure that they would actually get the money back from John. And that sounds like a joke to some folks, but there's some folks that you wouldn't trust them with your pencil if you could find a pencil.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
So describe for us what your ideal client is, Nick. For the
Well, just kind of going into that, and that kind of goes into why we set up the firm. Kind of like I said a little bit earlier, I've worked in the past on the borders and the conglomerates and things like that, and sat down in front of a private equity board and told them basically what they need to do and how to do that. And just being honest with me and what I like to do. I like that middle market to new business rate, because when I was working in those big private equity worlds, could I make a difference? Yeah. But were the people that were at those tables as infused about the difference that I could make as the individual owner of a company? And that's where I came in. Is one of my characteristics that it can be a double-edged sword, is I'm a people pleaser. And inside of these middle market companies, they are looking for people like me. They are looking for people that want to dive into their business and really want to help them. And so to me, it's not just like building a business to create revenue. What I like to do and really do is I like to make a difference in people's lives. I've had people make a difference in my life and teach me things in my business that are invaluable, that there's no dollar amount you could put on there. And a lot of that is the client communication and the client caring about the client. And so when I came to start this business and my partner joined me, is we set this up because we want to help middle market firms, the ones that are in the middle. The high ones get very utilized. They have a lot of professionals, big fours. They have a lot of utilization. The small individuals with W-2s, you got your H&R blocks and stuff like that, don't have anything doing. Like, if you're not doing anything besides a very, very basic return, like, they have those market. But that middle market, to where you have some investments and you have you have income and you have this, and you're actually trying to plan, there was nobody doing that. They're really, they may say they were, but they didn't really care enough to really understand everything into the client, what they're doing. And so we found a niche in that market, to where when we started in 14, it was a little slow start. But after that, ball just kept rolling, because our area, the Frisco market, is full of entrepreneurs that love what they do and are really good at what they do. And so, because of DFW market has been such an influence in the US in the last couple of years, it has really given my firm the opportunity to see every kind of business there is. And so, like, I've really learned that I love helping that middle market business that is really looking at trying to make it to that next step. How do they
You
identify
sound
what they're
almost as
doing?
excited as you probably get when you're watching the Dallas Cowboys have a good day.
You know what? Sometimes that's a little fewer times than the one I like to see. I'm hoping this year's just a little bit better. Hey, they're bringing the Mavericks up closer to me, so I'm excited. I'm a lot less further of a drive to the Mavs, hopefully, if they go on Valley View Center. So I'm excited about them moving up here.
Yep, the Stars too. Stars are all
Yes,
coming to the to Plano.
I'm excited about that. That's going to be
Yes.
cool.
And that view is lets people know that, honest to God, all three of us have lives beyond just footing, ticking, and counting numbers and helping people make more money and pay less income taxes, all kidding aside. So, Nick, what are some of the things you and your family do for fun?
Actually, we just got back from Broken Bow last week. And then me and my wife, we've been trying. So one
Broken
of the
Bow
things
is
we
in
like to do.
Oklahoma, for those of you who are not
Oh
familiar
yeah,
with Broken Bow, and
yeah.
there's a lake right next to it, in which JJ and I have scuba dived and fished and
It is
dredged
great.
up
The
the mud.
the thing that we did up there is we went hiking. In the middle of the hike, we'd stop and go on the river and go trout fishing. They stock the river there with trout. And so, like, it was really cool. The only thing is, like, you got to learn little things. Like, when you're trout fishing up there, you can't use barb hooks and different things, and lot of cool things. But what me and my family really like to do is go outside of nature. We've been hiking in so many different places, and we've been up down in Mexico hiking, Tahoe, Arizona, Colorado, New
Have y'all ever
Mexico.
taken an air gondola in Colorado?
My wife gets motion sick, so we can't do a lot of the gondolas or boats. Like, we can't do cruises or, like, big yacht. Even if it's the biggest yacht in the world and you say it won't move, she's going to be sick. So we got to get there and kind of get settled before we can kind of go do any of the hiking.
One day I was staying in Mountain Home, Colorado, and thought, just for comic relief, and go to the other side of the mountain to see Telluride. And literally had air gondolas, like you were in Switzerland. You have these big things. And these, in fact, in that part of the world, you couldn't even park in town. All you could do is unload your luggage, park it at the base of the mountain, catch a gondola back to the cabin. And we saw some people, not that I could ever imagine doing this, taking their mountain bikes up there so they get to the top of the mountain.
Yeah, that's a
Then
little
go
sketchy.
careening down the mountain at pace with no rails.
I'm a little old for that. I'm a little old for that. my body is not as flexible as some of these kids are when they're out there. They could like flip backwards and do all that, and mine's gonna break. It's not gonna flex anymore. It's just gonna break.
There's nothing like seeing a tree and not being part of it in terms of how refreshing it can actually be. Yeah, you
Yes.
have a couple more questions you'd like to ask as well.
Excuse me, I wasn't sure you were talking to me. Well, you
Yeah.
already answered one of them is why you do what you do. So we asked you about your favorite client. You got passionate about why you and Brett started the business, or he joined you in the business. So that is a great thing and some fun family stories as well. What is one thing that people particularly misunderstand about your profession?
So I will tell you, this is the easiest answer in the world. When they say taxes, they assume CPA taxes. We're looking at, you
Yeah.
know how many taxes there are in the world?
Mhm.
There are so many taxes. You got your IFTA taxes, you have your sales tax, you have your state taxes, your income tax, your export, your import, your
Mhm.
anything, your excise tax with your payroll and everything into there. And so one of the biggest misnomers that we have is that we are a jack of all trades. Has to do with tax. They come in and say, hey, can you handle this? I was like, I can't handle if the tax. I don't have your driving logs. I don't do this. So like there are a lot of different types of tax. And I will say I normally have an idea of to
Mhm.
help them push them in a way, but I can't always answer them. So I will say one of the things that just the assumption that people have is that, and it's a positive thing. They think I know everything, which is good. I mean, I like the benefit of the doubt, but
Mhm.
there is a lot in the tax code that we can't always go through. So that's some of the issues we run into.
Definitely. And you answer that, and also your expertise and understanding of the situation is there, but also knowing that a specialist who does that day in and day out is the right
Yes,
person for your client. Very similar to what we do.
exactly.
We definitely have a great understanding across lots of disciplines, and then with being in the specialist in those particular areas that serves our client, just like for your firm with one of our clients. So
Yep.
very intentional about the
And
relationship
I'll tell
we
you a
have.
quick story for both of you. On that one day, I was being introduced to a brand new pair of clients, both PhDs, university professors, highfalutin in music. And they were going to their estate planning meeting with another financial advisor and a very well meaning estate planning attorney. And he was explaining what he was explaining. And I'd never met these people before. Just make it a John Checky story. And I could tell they didn't understand a word this guy was saying, and they were too embarrassed to answer the question, to ask it right. And I said, do you understand anything he just said to you? They said, no, we really don't. I said, would you like to understand what he did say? He said, yes, we really would. So I kind of explained it in terms of basically taking some flower pots from one shelf and putting them on another shelf. Of course, that's called estate planning, where you just kind of take trust and what have you, if you
Hmm.
will. And they said, oh, that makes perfectly good sense. And I said, yeah, an attorney can't say that out loud for some reason. I don't know why that is. Because
They can't make it that easy.
when you talk to them in person, they sound like regular people. But when they start making a presentation, they sound like a wooden Indian. So how do
Yep.
you avoid sound like a wooden Indian? No.
I will say in the past, I don't really, me personally, I know exactly what you're talking about because I've been around other CPAs that sound like that. I am a very like small town country boy. I grew up in Graham, Texas, not too far from here, 2.5 hours away from where we're at in Frisco. And it was such a small town. And
Or is that East Texas, West Texas?
West Texas, West. So you
Okay.
go
Completely
out by
different. Pumper. Okay.
Possum Kingdom Lake. It's really
Oh,
close
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
out there to
sure.
Possum Kingdom Lake.
Great,
So
great water skiing.
I grew up in a small town. I worked in the oil field. I worked with oil field hands. I worked in like a lawn mowing company and everything. And so when you're in those places, you're not always working with maybe the most educated, or they maybe had a rougher life, or just things that went on in their life that's a little
Mhm.
harder. And being able to work, because I knew the owner of the companies and then I knew the employees. So I was able to help them kind of translate, i.e., take what the owner wanted into the way that the client, the employees could understand. So the thing that's big on our side of it is I have to understand what the client in front of me's history is and what they can understand. And majority of people coming in to meet me, I just assume they know really nothing about taxes. It is so hard, and so much expertise is needed in the tax world, such as your financial world. Like there's so much expertise needed. I just assume they know nothing. And when they come in, I say, I'm sorry. If I'm dumbing this down too much, please let me know. I'm trying to make this as basic as possible. And then what we'll do is start getting more and more detailed as we get
Mhm.
understand the basics. Because the basics, just like you said, taking one flower pot from another, the way that I start is just working on how income is characterized. Just
We're not
starting with
explaining
just
about
what is
taxes.
to
We know
everything.
you don't want to pay any. And if you can just remember one thing, when you work with us, it's our objective to help you pay less taxes and have more money and not get audited.
Yep. Yep. I will tell you my biggest number one goal, and I will tell everybody this. Everybody's like, so is this tax mitigation? I said that's part of it. My biggest goal is asset appreciation.
Mhm.
That is the only goal that I have in mind. I can mitigate taxes, yes, but if I'm decreasing assets in doing that, I don't like that. So
Tell
my
us when you say asset appreciation, why don't you define that for everybody just so everybody understands your concept of what that actually means?
asset appreciation, i.e., is what I look at as I talk to the person. I say, all right, I'm sitting here talking to JJ. So if I'm sitting here talking to JJ, I said, JJ, I look at JJ's line of businesses. And let's just say JJ has houses here, has an operating business here, and then has a side business here. If I'm going through here and I'm looking at JJ and I'm saying, all right, JJ, let's look at your three sets of businesses.
Mhm.
And then I look at each one, and I consider each one of them an asset. And I say, okay, if I'm looking at this year in a consolidated return for everybody, I'm saying, okay, if you're making right now where you're at, you make $10. I'm just using you make $10 of income, whatever it is.
Mhm.
That's not a big deal. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm not going out there and wiping that out because $10 is not bad. But if you do on a year, what I'm doing for mitigation is, let's just say 1 year you're a seasonal company. 1 year you have $100,000 of income. The next year you have 2 million. The next year you have a 100,000. And so what I'm doing is I'm looking at each person, whether it's JJ, whether it's John, whether it's me. I'm looking at your balance sheet, i.e., your assets, whether it's your cash, your investments, your 401k there, your operating company, your rental properties. And I say, okay, I'm looking at your balance sheet and where you're at. We want to know what you're doing this year. And we see, okay, here's where you are. You're like, okay, now I want to decrease my taxes. And JJ comes to me and said, Nick, I want to go buy a truck. And I say, okay, you're doing tax mitigation. You're not doing asset appreciation right now because you're buying a depreciating
Mhm.
asset. Once you drive it off, it's gone. So in that scenario, everybody comes to me and is like, I want to go buy a truck at the year. And I was like, is there something else I can buy to where I can actually get an asset appreciation out of that? And so when people come to me, they come to me and they say, hey, I want to go in there and mitigate taxes from everything. And I'm like, but we're not risking your assets.
Mhm.
We want to make sure your assets are on a steady climb, but we're not letting the tax wag the dog. We're not saying
Mhm.
we're going to spend every dollar we have to pay no tax. We're going to look at it as an approach of saying, hey, here's where you're at current year. Next year, we want your assets to be larger. Does that mean you might need to pay a little tax this year and invest and move some stuff next year? Then yes. Or it might mean we need to wipe out all the taxes this year. Each person really has an individualized plan to
Mhm.
make sure we're helping their assets appreciate.
And what's the benefit for a client to actually have appreciating assets, Nick?
They can retire sooner. That's my goal. But appreciating assets are basically with the hyperinflation we've had over the last 5 years. If your assets are not appreciating, you're dead in the water. You're losing ground. And so we can't just look at how much you're paying in tax. We got to look at what you're really ending with at the end of the
There's a
year.
famous speaker named Nick Murray, and he's a very loquacious guy, but he's also from New York. So he's very graphic in terms of presentation without getting salty in presentation. He says the difference between fixed assets and equity assets is basically everything costs more every year, which is called hyperinflation in your case. He said the difference between fixed assets and appreciating assets is death. What that means is we used to give a workshop called Losing Money Safely. And what that means in English, there was a time when certificates of deposit, both of you might or might not remember it because it was a while back, yielded over 20% interest. And little old ladies were mad for these. And I remember telling one of my clients, I said, let me try and explain what this is actually doing to you, not for you. Said inflation at that time was about 3 points more than whatever it is you get from a CD. Tax maximum rate at the time was 70 percentage point, and I'm not making that up whatsoever.
Yep.
This before the Tax Act of 81. Again, no
Yep.
kidding. So basically, when you math that out, you lost 5% per year purchasing power. That meant in everyday language is if you were buying a telephone, if you're buying a ballpoint, whatever it was you were buying, you'd need 5% more this year than you did last year. If your expenses followed, God bless them, the consumer price index, and nobody's cost of living follows that.
Mm-mm.
Right here, your cost of living is completely different than the average
Mm.
cost of living, just starting with the crutches and walkers and what have you that people seem to get at a certain age. And everybody that age, except for me, seems to have a collection of those things.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you're seeing just like you're talking about is like that's what we look at it. Is you look at it as at the end of the year is like what is our inflation? What is doing? People are like, well, do I buy real estate now? The interest rates. I was like, evaluate. Like, there's no one answer for everybody. You have to look at everybody's use of funds and what they're doing and how they're doing it because every person is different. Most people have different goals at the end, and I mean, most people's idea of happiness and joy and fun is different. So if my happiness in this is this type of firm that makes this and somebody else is different, as long as I can talk to that person and identify what that is and then help them on that asset appreciation, our goals go pretty well. That's a pretty good
I used to
relationship
really
going
enjoy
on there.
walking in the woods when I had a family that enjoyed walking in the woods. And I found that after I got tired of feeding the bugs and discovered where the ticks were, and I discovered luxury places to stay that were air conditioned and had good views and beautiful ocean water and what have you, and I don't get seasick. I've been a sea scout. My age and stage changed over time. So you kind of look at somebody's not only their time frame that they think they have, but actually in our case, we talk to people about ages, stages, and phases. And this morning I had 3 different calls with people, again, like I said, in rehab, not making that up. And I said, we always encourage people, and I'm passing this on to everybody watching this, to travel sooner rather than later, because eventually your advisors will be interrupting you between your doctor's appointments. And it's just as graphic as I can possibly, and it sounds like a John Checky stand-up comedy routine, but it's just as true as breathing on a daily basis. So how do you help people with, by the way, you look awful, you got gray skin all of a sudden, planning? How do you help clients do that, Nick?
How do they go ahead? Like, how do they plan? Is your question is how they
Yeah.
plan
In other words,
for the
what
coming year?
advice do you give as their certified public accountant who does amazing consulting work with various businesses when someone comes in and they just don't look like themselves anymore?
Mhm.
How do you help them along with that?
Well, usually if they're coming in and I've known them for a little bit and they don't look like their self and they're going through it, they're probably focusing on either some kind of situation that came in that's overbearing. Because a lot of people, as you look at this, like for instance, we can kind of get caught up on small things. And
Mhm.
same thing. I mean, same thing. This is an example with me and my wife. You got to pick your battles, right? And so sometimes when you're coming in, you see people coming in different views, and you have to understand that person's in a battle. And
Mhm.
first off, you got to say, okay, is this a battle that's in their head and that we need to help them get out of, or is this a battle that we're going to help them get through? And so in that scenario, I am as a people pleaser. I'm very connected with people, and I love people. So first thing I'm going to do is make sure first off they're okay, because that's the most important thing. My clients know that when they're calling me and I ask them, how are you doing? I really mean it, because I mean, I've gone through at my firm here, I've gone through medical history and things like this. And my clients have called me and said, hey, how are you doing? They come to see me. They come to see me. I mean, I was in the hospital at some point and clients came to see me at the hospital. And
Mm.
it's the thing is when I was building my practice and doing this and just that exact same scenario is I wanted to be able to identify if a client walked in and they were different than normal. If
Mhm.
I was at a big firm and I was working at the big four, like I was Grant or EY, and a client walked in, I guarantee you, I'm not going to know anything about them. I'm not going to know their face. I'm not going to know anything. And so by your question is you have a client walk in and they look out of their self, I'm going to take them my offerings and say, what can I do for you? How are you doing? It may not even include work. It's going to be personal. What
Mhm.
can I do for you? And so that's the thing to where us is being the medium sized firm we can, I can put work on hold and I can make sure that client's okay. And then once the client's okay in that side of it, if they're worried about planning and they're worried about the IRS, I'll let them know we got you, because everybody gets really worried about the IRS. Like, oh, I owe 2 or 3 years of back taxes. It's like, hey, it's okay. It's not going to kill you. We got this. All we have to do is put a plan. The only reason why where you're at is because you didn't plan. Let's plan for a future. Let's get your budget in place and let's make this a better situation.
Definitely. Which
I'm
which we
pleased
said.
this bunch you've given us a chance to really highlight that certified public accountants are not just glorified undertakers for the Internal Revenue Service. That you have a personality, you got empathy with people, which you keep
Uh-huh.
calling people pleasing. It's really empathy in terms of that. Is people pleasing can get you, as you well know, if you have a daughter like that,
It can.
your partner is happy about.
Yeah, I've kind of learned that a little bit is you have to, in our world, obviously I have empathy, but I also have a professional license that
Uh-huh.
have cut and dry boundaries. In our world, there is, everybody said, oh, I want the gray area. You know what? I'm good with that. I'm good with going through there as long as I have a stance to make a determination and put a stance on something, I will do it. And I'm good with that. That's not really people pleasing. That's just doing my job. Now, on the other hand, I've had to let clients go because of
Okay.
coming in and saying, "Hey, this is what I want to do," and I said, "Well, I can't sign that off because I don't have an active position. Like that's what I want to do." And I'm like, "Well, I wish you the best, and we'll let you move forward." But the biggest thing is just making sure that as a CPA, if you are a people pleaser, which I am, and I love people, you have to know your line because they will push you. They will push you as hard as you can. And in our DFW market, there's cultures from all over the world. So every culture pushes in a different way or asks in a
Uh-huh.
different way. So you have to learn in any way, shape, or form that you know who you are and what you stand for. And even though you may be saying no to this, you know you've helped them in any which way or form that is the right way to do it.
One
I,
day, a horse trader walked in my office, and I'm not making that up. I've had some clients who owned thoroughbred racehorses, and some who even stayed in Kentucky. And I got to go to there's a place in Kentucky called Spendthrift Farms, and I am not making that up. It's a big time horse farm, and it has all kinds of famous horses in it. And for everybody else that's all a gaga about that, I got to go visit that. Got my picture taken with all. Yeah, fine. But the point of it was to go see how the guy that was taking care of my client's horses was doing in terms of the job that he was doing. And sadly, he'd not made any preparation whatsoever to con me into thinking he was doing a good job. And I thought, you just can't make stuff like this up. So, do you periodically go visit people's place of business to see how they're actually running their own individual businesses? Yeah.
oh yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am. The thing is I have, like I said, I have clients all over Frisco, whether they're restaurants or hair salons or something. I will use my clients. Like I will go up to lunch with them, and if I go through them, and like for instance, like it's an old restaurant chain, they loved it when I would go to lunch there and then tell them how the staff interacted with me. And I would love to tell the owner and give them good feedback. So I was almost per se not secret shopper, but somebody had vested interest in all,
Okay.
first off the economics of it, but also the business relations of it. And so I can business owner, so I could tell them like, hey, yeah, it would be awesome if my team would act like your team did. Or you know what? Your team has some room for improvement. They need to do XYZ on people coming in and an opportunity like that. So there's definitely some always giving good feedback on that area of knowing like that relationship to where they could come in and say, yeah, hey, go check it out, Nick, and let me know. And that's fun because then you could really say, hey, you know that you say this is your business and this is the way you represent your business. But then when you go and you look into it, is that really what's going on in their business? And if it's not, I'll have what I call a come to Jesus
Yeah.
moment
Uh-huh.
with the owner and be like, okay, you say this, but do you really want my feedback? Because this is
Uh-huh.
not the firm that you're representing. And it happens sometimes, but more than likely it's not. It's normally the owners normally do represent the firm and their vision down.
So, tell us about the most interesting lunch or dinner you had with a client.
Most interesting lunch or dinner that I had with a client.
I'll even throw in breakfast if you like.
Yeah, I was trying to think of one recently. I was having dinner with my real estate advisor over at the Cowboys Club. I was sitting
Uh-huh.
there at the bar at the Cowboys Club, and then we were sitting there having dinner and everything, and all of a sudden Lamar Odom walked up. Lamar Odom sat right down next to me and said, "What's up, man? How are you doing? How's your?" I mean, because I'm very approachable, and so he walked down there and he sat down and he sat next to me, and his mom was there and all that, and we just started talking. And all of a sudden, he's like, "You know what? You're an accountant. I got a foundation. I'm doing this. I'm helping kids and doing this." And so we just spitballed back and forth about things he was doing and helping with the kids in the DFW market and everything. And that was like it wasn't a planned meeting, But that was one of the most
Uh-huh.
fun impromptu meetings that I've ever had, and it was learning about the NFL, I mean, the NBA and because, I mean, Lamar dated the Kardashians, and, I mean, it was just funny listening to everything, like, it was just a very interesting dinner, nothing necessarily work related, but one of those spot off, fun, just interactive meetings that I just kinda got to meet.
I've been in the car park a couple of times, and it's surrealistic in terms of the people that you bump into, even whether you wanted to bump into them or not. And
Mhm.
I'm not an autograph person, but I just and most of the football players are extravagantly friendly and respectful to people who wear nice clothes and look not poor. I'll just put it that way.
Yep.
It's people have joked about us that we look like money in motion. And I said, yes, I get that joke. Have a nice day. You can pick out financial advisors and CPAs from a mile away. So
Yeah.
what on earth made you ruin your life and become a certified public accountant? Nick?
Yeah, so that goes kind of a long ways back. So a little bit about me is I didn't really grow up with much. My mom was a maid, like housekeeper for people, and my dad was the trash man. And so I had to help my parents with the job a lot. And one of the things my mom did is she cleaned a CPA's business and his house. A CPA firm. He owned a local firm in Graham. His name was David Flynn. Really nice guy. Love the guy. Daughter had a daughter my age. Her name, I forgot her name. Really sweet girl. She was in my grade. But when I was growing up, my mom would always go there and clean his office, and then there for a while, I would go and help. And so
Mm.
Mr.
Wow.
Flynn was such a phenomenal man and nice man. And when I was up there, he would always talk to me and give me advice and say this. And so at that point, I had no idea. I didn't really know much about college. Like I said, we come from a different class of life at that point. And so he like spoke into me about things I was going to go do and all that. And so getting to know him and her name was Tara Flynn. I don't know what to getting to know him and the care that he gave out to me and just the niceness that he gave just kind of put that in the back of my head. I'm like, man, because I didn't know. I was like, well, maybe CPAs are nice people and just learn different things. And like, I just went down it, and I didn't know. I was a young kid. I was trying to figure out what to do, and from that point on, I believe I was like right around 10 years old. I just
Oh.
told everybody I was going to be a CPA. And they're like, you're going to do what? I was like, I'm going to be a CPA. Like, yeah, right. Like, I went to college. My major never changed. I was through my master's degree in 5 years and got it. I was like, I knew what I was doing. There was no
Mhm.
ifs, ands, or buts about it.
So did you go back and thank that CPA for his amazing guidance and mentorship?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And
Th-
that family's still around in Graham. They were great.
That's a great example of not only that not, he impacted your life and what you wanted to do in the future, but you took the characteristics, they also then how he built his practice and how he served people and took that into the continued on in the CPA world as that and brought it to this market where may not be the norm that it is for a CPA, but you do great work for your clients and with the right heart
Mhm.
behind it.
Yeah, that was the big thing because he was so nice. That was the thing that was the key breaker in that is like when I went into Grant Thornton and I was working downtown and stuff, like they didn't have his niceness. I was like, what are these people? Like, you aren't nice. Like, what's going on here? I was like, this isn't a way. And so from then on, I kind of learned about the person I wanted to be and just the
Uh-huh.
different things and the way I wanted to represent myself. I knew I had to put my 5 years in public to get my understanding before I could go out on my own. But as soon as I got that out, I went on my own. I knew what I wanted. I knew how I wanted to help people,
Uh-huh.
and I was just driven to be like that guy had kind of and driven me to be.
Not that we're casting dispersions on formal certified public accountants who could also be funeral directors on a bad day. But if you're looking for someone who has empathy toward you and your firm, business, or what have you, and will go kick bricks with you, walk the walk with you, and what have you, and actually understand what it's like to go camping and trail hunting and all the rest of it. Nick obviously is a good example of that. And congrats. Neither one of my parents, by the way, graduated from high school.
Yeah.
No kidding. And yet my brother's in the Hall of Fame for the Equitable, and I just celebrated my 50th anniversary as a certified public accountant and went to 4 colleges and have 2 degrees. So it is possible that your parents can give you life encouragement, and as long as they're not axe murderers, set a good example with behavior patterns and be
Hmm.
surrounded by people who are mentors to folks. So
Yep.
congratulations on doing that. And if you had one piece of advice you can give to folks out there, if you're 90 seconds, say, okay, this is Nick's key to the universe. What would those things be?
It would be for the young kids that don't feel like they have the opportunity to do anything.
Mm.
You have the opportunity. Don't question yourself. Don't stop. Know where you want to be. Don't let anybody tell you you can't. You have it. You will find the economic, if you are a driven person, you will find the economic means. Never let any naysayers, anybody come in there and say, you're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're just a small town podunk Grahamite that cannot sit in front of these people. I've heard it. I've been told that. I've been told I don't have the value to sit at this table. Don't listen to them. You are who you can be, and you're the only person that can make you that person. Nobody else around you can make you who you are, but you. Never let anybody deter you from where you want to go and what you want to be.
Tell us about your children for just a moment.
Yes, I have 3 amazing children. I have a daughter that's 15. Her
Mhm.
name is Brooke. I have a son that is 9. His name is Benix, and then I have a daughter that is 8, and her name is Truly. They are phenomenal kids. My oldest is Brooke. She is in high school, and she wants to be a pilot, we believe. So
Mhm.
we're looking at that to see. She wants to travel the world. She loves going places and doing things, and she can't sit still and wants to go anywhere and everywhere. And so that's phenomenal. My son, I can't get him out of the lake. He loves fishing. That kid, that kid every day is begging to go fishing. So me and him, like I said, we were at Broken Bow, Oklahoma last week, trout fishing all week. We have a lake house that he's
Mhm.
been able this year. I think he's caught a 6-pound catfish on a small line, and so like
Wow.
he's just ecstatic and just learning that. And then Truly, my youngest, she is nonstop talker. She's just like me. She will go in there and she will go to the store and she will have best friends before she leaves. The checkers out there will just say how sweet she is and this, and she'll be in line to get the lunch meat and she'll be talking to lunch. Hey, you're doing, and you look beautiful and this. And she is such the most beautiful heart and caring, and she just wants everybody to be happy. So I have an amazing set of kids, and I couldn't ask for any better. And all of that is because their mom. Their mom raises them and stays at home with them, and she is a phenomenal woman. So that's one thing that I will say is a good reason why they are who they are
Mhm.
is their mom puts everything into them.
And how did you and your wife meet?
We met in college. We got actually married really early. I had just turned 22 and she had just turned 21. We were I had I was working at a Mexican food restaurant. One of the other waiters was like, hey, I got a girl that you need to meet or whatever as a friend. He was dating your friend. And so I just went over there to meet her. And all of a sudden, like me and her friend, it wasn't my wife, it was my wife's friend. So I was talking to her and I just left. I was like, hey, you know what? I don't really, this is not working out. When I left, my now wife called me and said, hey, do you mind coming and hanging out some more and doing this? So she asked me to come back. And so that was the beginning. I always tell everybody my wife chose me. I like putting that like, I've never had a girl chose me, but she chose me.
That
But
is actually true, and found this in my career as a financial advisor and as a certified public accountant and a person who spent 20 years working in the industry before that and taught college also, that the lady notices the guy, starts circling around the guy till the guy looks up and thinks he found her. And
yep.
that's any number of why. So how did this happen? And she just looks at, gives that sheepish look that one of JJ's children, Elizabeth, has, is this little sheepish grin that she inherited from her grandmother, the mother of my children, who I also met in college. And we got married when I was 21. She was 19, no kidding, and had 3 kids, and her just amazing human beings. But guys are so busy doing whatever guys are doing, and some of them are not nearly as observant as ladies are. And that being the case, thank God that God gave ladies the gift of picking out the right guy so their kids could have a pleasant dad. They can actually earn a good living and set a good example and be God fearing in our cases. Or
Yes.
like I told the head of a foundation that came to my office who had a completely different religious belief than I did. I said, look, I am a Bible thumping born again Christian. You can look at my office and see a lot of Bibles, and that will come up in conversation. So could
Hmm.
you please find somebody in your group that has the same beliefs that you have to actually help you with this foundation? And so now we like you just fine. And they've still been clients for 11 years. And it makes me laugh out loud in terms of the irony associated with that. And they're just lovely people because people come in all flavors from all parts of the world, contrary to popular belief.
And they're all here. They're all in DFW. I've got my staff. I have people from Germany. I had people from Moldova. I have people from all over the world here, and it's great. It's so awesome.
Mhm.
You get to learn so much
That started with
about.
Texas Instruments many, many years ago, and I used to joke since I lived just south of where Texas Instruments' original plant was along Forest Lane. And I'd say, "You want to know what the weather is in Mumbai?" I said, "Just call somebody over at TI and ask him to ask his mom, what's the weather
Yep.
like?" Okay. So it has been that way for at least the 50 something years that I have lived down here. From all over the world have come here because there's great pool of people, wonderful, receptive governments toward business in this part of the world. And
Hmm.
thank goodness gracious, we have no individual income tax. We do have enough property tax to make Californians blink
Yep.
because they're not used to that part. And we keep telling them that as much as we enjoy seeing them, there's some other things that we hope they just left home without bringing it here with them. And I'm not going to
Which is a lot of their ideas.
something like that. It's like if you want to be in California, you just go to Austin and save yourself a couple hours in terms of getting there.
That's right.
So,
That's
JJ,
true.
do you have any more questions you'd like to ask Nick before we get him
Oh no,
finished?
yeah. So you did the 90-second, which I'd love to see your passion in that. That was definitely how it showed through it in a big way. So any final thoughts? Yeah, actually, there's one question. What advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
My 20-year-old self is don't look for instant gratification. Put your effort in and understand the long-term investment. As
Mhm.
kids, the things that we don't understand is like we may look at a job and may want to switch because hey, there's $10,000 more or something here. Look at the long-term goal of what is that $10,000 worth? Am I limiting myself on my ability to like is am I going to have more opportunities
Okay.
or is the $10,000 going to be worth buying those opportunities from me? So it's all about learning what the long term goal is and
Mhm.
what you want to be. Don't look at immediate instant gratification because that is such a short period of time compared to
Mhm.
the long game.
That's good.
Great advice. So with that in mind, we cannot thank you enough for taking the time and extending the effort and being somewhat less passionate than most CPAs think they're supposed to be at times. And thank God you not only met a fabulous woman who was kind enough to pick you out of the crowd after, luckily for her, her girlfriend didn't measure up to your standards.
That's right.
And your firm seems to be growing exponentially. I looked at your web page before I got here and I thought, holy guacamole, they really are expanding.
We are.
So are you going to have to move from your current location?
Yes, sir. Within the next year, we are. We're going to be probably a couple miles around here, either on the like the shops of Legacy, just south of
Mhm,
121,
mhm.
within 5 miles of our current place. But we're definitely going to
Mhm.
have to get a lot bigger digs because we've got a lot of people coming. I said I had 2 interviews today, and if we lost the air conditioning, so we had to go to a different place to do the interviews. But I'm still doing them. I can't stop. I got work coming in the door, so we're trying to grow.
JJ, any final thoughts?
Well, one thing obviously is on the investment side, we not only take the investments, but also well-rounded or holistic approach like you do with your clients as well. What is the overall impact of different things that we do? So we love being able to do that for our clients as well, to look at the whole picture, to bring in those experts like yourself and estate planning and attorneys for their areas of specialty. So look forward to continuing the conversation and the relationship. And thanks for taking the time today.
And it's possible to be a certified public accountant and a certified financial planner and not have to wear a tie while you're doing it.
Yeah. And I and JJ and John, I really appreciate y'all. I really appreciate y'all putting this on, and I know that y'all care for y'all's clients indefinitely. You're wanting to go out there and bring resources to your clients, to your teams, and really build the best team that you can for your clients. And I appreciate having the opportunity to talk to your clients and your team because I know that they are very good clients and that y'all have done a great job with them. And I really appreciate the opportunity, and it's nice to see other people in the market that care about their client as much as I do. Because I do feel like we are an odyssey. I do feel like there is a big keen on what can you pay me versus what can I do for you. And so I really appreciate the Cheeky team and y'all and how much y'all care about y'all's clients and how y'all interact with everybody because it's definitely seen it's definitely known as different, and I really appreciate being able to be part of the
We're
team with
very
you.
lucky because we've been told again and again, try not to sound like other financial advisors. We thought that will not be a problem.
Yes, I don't think I sound like too many accountants. I try to be a little different.
Yes, you are.
And with
Well,
that, we're going
perfect.
to
Well,
wrap this up at this time. And Nick, hang on. We've got some other things to say to you.
awesome. Well,
And
thank you.